Have you ever wondered what truly hides behind the dazzling gold and boundless power of a pharaoh? Welcome, time traveler, to Behind the Crown, a gate opening into the sealed world of power, mystery, and the most brutal truths of ancient Egyptian royalty. Step with me into this journey. From the moment you awaken as a god, yet are torn by an intense yearning for freedom. Witness the meticulous transformation ritual to don the mantle of absolute power, which is also a mask of profound solitude. You will feel the chilling isolation right at the heart of luxury, within a magnificent golden palanquin, and uncover the horrifying cost of endless banquets, where opulence becomes a curse. Listen to the insidious whispers of conspiracy lurking beneath the desert moon, and unveil the raw truth behind royal hunts that were nothing more than an elaborate, staged play. Then, you will sink into the pain of a god-king, bound by mortal flesh, battling illness and the fragility of fate. Finally, we will contemplate the ultimate surrender, when the crown falls and an emperor returns to dust, finding an eternal rest that power could never grant. These are not just stories. These are secrets buried with the sands of time, now brought vividly back to life. If these mysteries, these hidden burdens behind the crown stir your soul and keep you utterly captivated, please bestow a like upon us to let me know you're ready for this compelling journey through time. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another enthralling historical saga, and don't hesitate to share where and when you're listening in the comments below. It's truly wonderful to connect, isn't it? The crimson sun, a fiery eyes slowly opening over the desert horizon, pierced through the narrow slits of your chamber, painting streaks of warm gold across the cool, dark stone. You stir, a pharaoh waking from a slumber that, even in its deepest moments, never truly released you from the heavy cloak of duty. A faint chime of distant wind chimes, their delicate song, a ghostly whisper of forgotten rituals, drifts through the air, mingling with the rich, earthy scent of frankincense. You lie there, for just a fleeting second, on a bed draped in the finest linen, its silky touch a cool caress against your skin, feeling the incredible softness beneath you, a promise of boundless luxury. This isn't a dream, no. This is your reality, the life of a pharaoh, a living deity on earth, holding the destiny of a mighty civilization in your very hands. Yet, even in this opulence, a gilded cage of absolute power, something feels profoundly, fundamentally wrong. This, you realize with a quiet sigh, is the brutal truth of the crown. A life of absolute power also means absolute loss of self. The moment your toes twitch, a silent signal to the unseen world beyond your bed, the heavy linen drapes part like ancient secrets unfolding, revealing an army of attendants. They move with an unsettling, almost supernatural grace, their footsteps as soft as falling sand, each a master of their craft. From preparing your perfumed bathing water, a swirling pool of serenity, to selecting the day's regal attire, they anticipate your every need. You need not lift a finger. Every desire is met with an immediate, relentless tide of service that both cradles and smothers. The brutal truth, a sharp shard of reality, piercing your divine facade, reveals itself almost immediately. You, the majestic pharaoh, a living embodiment of the sun god Ra, are afforded no true privacy. Sorry, introverts, but if you're a pharaoh, solitude is a ludicrously expensive luxury you simply can't afford. Your royal retinue, a constellation of watchful eyes and silent whispers, seems to materialize from the very air, surrounding you like devoted satellites in your personal orbit. courtiers with eyes as sharp as flint, family members whose smiles hold 1,000 meanings, and a procession of silent servants whose thoughts are as enigmatic as the Sphinx itself. They are your constant companions, a living, breathing shroud of surveillance. The murmuring of the day's first reports already begins to swirl around you, a ceaseless, flowing river of responsibilities. Before you can fully inhale the sweet, heavy perfume of the lotus blossoms in the ornate vase by your bed, you find yourself engulfed in a sea of papyrus scrolls, each one unfurling a new crisis or a fresh triumph. Reports trickle in from distant borders, tales of skirmishes as sharp as desert thorns, or news of the life-giving Nile's rising waters, a constant reminder of your people's fragile existence. Your days are insanely busy, a frenetic dance with destiny that starkly contrasts with the serene, leisurely image most people paint of royalty. This is no idle life. It is a relentless, intricate tapestry of endless demands. Narmer, the legendary pharaoh who unified Upper and Lower Egypt into one glorious kingdom, laid the foundation for this absolute power. The magnificent double crown, a shining symbol of his unparalleled achievement, now rests on your head, a crushing weight upon your very soul. Do you feel its oppressive burden? It is not merely gold and jewels, it is the immense gravity of millions of lives you are tasked to govern, a divine mandate heavier than any pyramid. You, a mere mortal, have been irrevocably swallowed by this godly role, transforming the very dream of personal freedom into a distant, hazy memory, slipping through your fingers like ancient desert sands. Do you ever find yourself questioning if this life truly belongs to you? Or are you simply a magnificent instrument, a gilded puppet dancing on destiny's grand stage? Even the simple act of choosing your attire is stripped of personal preference. It is not a choice, but a meticulously choreographed ritual, a timeless, unbending rule written in the stars. And your friends, those few individuals you have elevated to plum positions beside you, their presence offers comfort as soothing as a lullaby. Yet it is also the insidious source of intricate entanglements, relentless expectations, and at times, insidious tendrils of betrayal that will quietly weave their way into the shadows of your court. This is a sprawling, intricate web, as complex as the labyrinthian passages within your own cool stone palace walls. Do you remember, perhaps in a fleeting moment of nostalgia, the simple joy of choosing your own garments without a retinue of stylists hovering, their silent judgments heavier than their shears? Or simply walking alone in your vast gardens, the rustle of the date palm fronds a soothing symphony, without the unsettling sense of hundreds of eyes tracking your every move? Those memories, once vivid as a desert oasis, are now as distant and unreachable as the stars scattered across the vast Egyptian night sky. You exist as a living monument, draped in gold and splendor, yet your heart aches with the quiet yearning for a touch of ordinary warmth. This is not merely governing, it is performing a never-ending theatrical play for an audience of millions. Every breath you take, every subtle glance is meticulously recorded, becoming another line in the epic poem of your living legend. You are a god, yes, but also a prisoner, bound by the invisible chains of your divine title. This nepotism, you might think it a modern invention, a clever contrivance of fate, but no, it is an ancient art form, a timeless dance of power and favor. It is an invisible thread, a silken cord stronger than any bronze chain, tying you to those you deem trustworthy, but also to those who, in their ambition, may ultimately sow seeds of instability and rebellion within your inner circle. The colossal burden of responsibility often crushes the simplest human desires. Imagine, if you will, the weight of knowing that every decision you make, every word you utter, carries the crushing weight of prophecy and consequence. The Nile floods, the lifeblood of your kingdom, a mighty serpent of water and destiny, relies on your favor, your prayers, your sacred rites. Famine or prosperity, war or peace, these are not mere choices, but titanic struggles waged within your own mind. You, the son of Ra, a beacon of unwavering power, must project an impenetrable facade of strength and wisdom, even as doubt gnaws at your insides like a hidden parasite. The opulence surrounding you, a dazzling cloak of shimmering gold and fragrant oils, becomes yet another layer in this elaborate performance. You are constantly on display, a living tableau of power and divine grace. Even the simplest moments, those that common people cherish for their quiet intimacy, are stolen from you. Can you truly relax when every servant's whisper, soft as a desert breeze, could carry a message to a scheming courtier? Can you truly trust when the very air itself seems thick with unspoken ambition? Your days unfold like an ancient scroll, each meticulously painted scene dictated by tradition and expectation. You attend ceremonies where you commune with the gods, your voice echoing through hallowed halls like thunder across the desert, not out of personal devotion, but as a mandatory act of state. You preside over legal disputes, your judgment a swift, sharp sword of justice, knowing your word is absolute, yet also aware that the lives you hold in your hands are fragile, like papyrus leaves caught in a sudden gust of wind. The weight of these decisions presses upon you, a relentless burden heavier than the pyramids themselves. As the sun begins its slow descent, painting the western sky in hues of fiery orange and weary purple, you might find yourself gazing out from your palace walls. Beyond the lavish gardens, beyond the bustling city, lies the vast, untamed desert. It stretches endlessly, a canvas of freedom that mocks your gilded cage. You see simple farmers toiling by the Nile, their lives as raw, as real as the river's mud, untouched by the suffocating weight of your crown. Did they envy you? Perhaps. But in this moment, looking at their unburdened lives, a silent longing blooms in your heart like a night-blooming Sirius. The quiet solitude you crave remains an elusive mirage in the shimmering heat of your existence. Even your nights are not your own. The very idea of an uninterrupted sleep feels like a fantasy, a luxury reserved for the common folk. Instead, your mind races, a chariot of worries thundering across the plains of your thoughts, the day's reports replaying, the subtle glances of treacherous courtiers, the ever-present threat of famine or rebellion. These are the monsters that haunt your royal slumber. Narmer, the unifier, perhaps he felt this very same unease. He built an empire, a colossus that spanned the land, but in doing so he may have unknowingly forged the chains that would bind every pharaoh after him. The sheer scale of what he achieved, a monument to his boundless will, simultaneously created a burden that no single human heart could truly bear without a constant grinding pressure. You are his legacy, yes, but also his inheritor of this peculiar, profound isolation. So, as the last rays of sunlight kiss the top of the tallest obelisk, you find yourself preparing for another night of restless vigilance. The lavishness of your chamber, a glittering tomb of comfort, cannot hide the stark truth. This story of your life, this behind-the-crown journey, has only just begun. And the next journey into the hidden truths of Egyptian royalty promises to reveal even more layers of brutal reality, waiting to be peeled back like ancient bandages from a long-buried secret.
The scent of lotus and myrrh, heavy and sweet like a summer's dream, drifts through your opulent chamber, a prelude to the day's relentless rituals. You rise, not on your own accord, but at the silent beckoning of your attendants. Their hands, gentle as doves, but firm in their purpose, guide you to the alabaster basin, where water, heated to perfection, awaits. This isn't simply bathing, it's an anointing, a purification before you don the mantle of divinity for the day. Hatshepsut, that formidable female pharaoh, whose very name evokes strength and cunning, understood this implicitly. She too reveled in these aromatic immersions, not merely for cleanliness, but to assert her supreme status, a silent, fragrant declaration of her sacred lineage. It wasn't such a bad idea, honestly. A small mercy in a world millennia before deodorants were even a whisper in anyone's wildest dreams. The cool, fragrant oils are then smoothed onto your skin, a silken barrier against the harsh realities of the desert and court, a luxurious shield that both protects and imprisons. This daily act, a blend of hygiene and divine affirmation, underscores the profound truth of your existence. Every personal need is subsumed by the sacred, every private moment transformed into a public performance. The water laps gently, a quiet rhythm against the cool stone, yet within its tranquil depths lies the weight of countless expectations. Once the ceremonial ablutions are complete, the true transformation begins. An army of stylists materializes, their movements as precise and coordinated as a phalanx of seasoned soldiers. Each individual, a master of their specialized craft, approaches with an almost reverent solemnity. First, the hair. Your natural hair, perhaps a simple earthy brown, is swiftly covered, lost beneath the towering edifice of a grand wig. These weren't mere accessories, they were architectural marvels, woven from real human hair, often dyed with indigo or henna, adorned with intricate beads, gold rings, and sometimes even tiny, delicate bird feathers. Imagine how sweat-soaked and pungent those wigs must have been under the scorching embrace of the Egyptian sun, a hidden truth beneath the dazzling display. The wig, a heavy sentinel of your power, pressing down on your scalp like a crown of lead, becomes a constant, almost maddening source of discomfort, a persistent, unwelcome companion throughout your long, demanding day. You can almost feel your hair follicles screaming in protest, tiny, desperate cries for release, trapped beneath this elaborate, ceremonial burden. Then come the jewels. Not merely pretty baubles, but potent talismans, each gem whispering ancient prayers and protections. A broad collar, the usek, is placed around your neck, a cascade of semi-precious stones, turquoise as vibrant as the Nile itself, lapis lazuli as deep as the midnight sky, carnelian as fiery as the desert sun, resting heavily against your chest. It is a literal mountain of adornment pressing down on your chest, a glittering shield that stifles as much as it protects. Bracelets clink gently against your wrists, rings sparkle on your fingers, each piece a miniature sun, catching and refracting the light, demanding attention. Every jewel is selected not for personal taste, but for its symbolic significance, a meticulously chosen word in the silent language of divine authority. You are not merely wearing adornments, you are wearing history, a vast, glittering tapestry of tradition and expectation. Finally, the kohl. This is perhaps the most iconic and, ironically, the most insidious of your daily rituals. With practiced hands, an attendant meticulously outlines your eyes. The rich, dark pigment, applied with a tiny ivory stick, creates that striking, almond-shaped gaze, a vision of ancient majesty, a perfectly sculpted symbol of your virility and undeniable connection to the cosmos. It's supposed to be protective, a powerful, unyielding conduit between the ethereal heavens and the fertile soil of your kingdom, warding off the glare of the sun and the evil eye. But did anyone ever tell you, Pharaoh, that this very kohl was often made from lead, from malachite, copper, from compounds that a modern physician, centuries from now, would bluntly label as toxic? Do you sense that subtle prickle, that faint persistent irritation around your eyes after each application? It's a tiny, insidious kiss from the very substance that crafts your divine allure. This beauty, this elaborate masquerade, is a silent scream in the face of chemical assault. Over the years, the constant application of these heavy, often toxic pigments takes its toll. Your skin, which was once so smooth and flawless as a freshly carved alabaster statue, begins to show subtle discolorations that betray the slow, relentless assault of these toxic adornments. The eyes, so mystically outlined in the deepest kohl, might feel a chronic dryness, a slight blur, a creeping poison that slowly saps your vitality. This is the brutal truth behind the divine mask. The very tools of your deification are a source of lingering illness, a silent, binding pact with lingering illness. It's a dangerous gamble taken for the sake of divine appearance, a Faustian bargain for immortality on earth.
As the final touches are applied, a small bronze mirror is presented. You gaze at the reflection, and for a moment, you don't recognize yourself. The face staring back is flawless, unblemished, framed by the elaborate wig and mystically outlined eyes. It is the image your people expect, the radiant, unblemished deity they worship. But beneath the kohl and the wig, beneath the layers of linen and gold, who are you? The reflection in the mirror becomes a stranger, a magnificent, terrifying stranger, adorned to perfection but hollowed out by the constant demands of the crown. This beauty is not for you. It is for your people, for the gods, for the eternal legacy you must forge. And the cost? It is etched not just on your face, but deep within your very soul, a silent tattoo of sacrifice. You are not merely wearing kohl, you are wearing the weight of a civilization's expectations, a burden heavier than any physical crown. Every brushstroke of pigment, every strand of the wig serves as a reminder that your existence is no longer your own, but a monument, a meticulously crafted facade for the ages. The fragrance of the oils, meant to soothe, now seems to choke, a sweet, sickly reminder of the artificiality of your existence. The silent attendants, their faces impassive as stone, seem to embody the very lack of privacy that has become your constant companion. You long for the simplicity of a face unpainted, of hair unadorned, of a body that simply is, without the elaborate costume of godhood. But such a longing is a luxury you cannot afford, a fleeting dream banished by the rising sun of duty. Do you ever feel like a mere statue, beautifully adorned for public admiration, yet internally seething with discomfort, a captive of your own glorious image? Perhaps a farmer, waking at dawn, his skin sun-baked and his hands calloused, experiences a truer sense of self than you, who must wear a mask from the moment you open your eyes. Their simplicity is their freedom. Your grandeur is your gilded cage. This transformation is not a choice, but an unyielding mandate from the gods themselves, a solemn vow whispered from generation to generation, an ancient legacy as ancient as the Nile's relentless flow. The very act of preparing yourself becomes a thick, suffocating fog, obscuring your own identity, turning you into an icon rather than a person. As the sun climbs higher, illuminating the grand halls of your palace, you step out, fully transformed. The cheers of your people, though distant, reach you, a chorus of adoration that echoes through the vastness of your existence. They see only the divine manifestation, the living God, resplendent and eternal. They do not see the slight tremor in your hand, the subtle ache in your joints, the weary sigh that you suppress deep within your chest. This transformation is your daily sacrifice, a performance without an intermission, where the stage is the entire kingdom and the audience is eternity. The beautiful facade is not a blessing, but a gilded chain forged from expectation, a heavy weight that paradoxically elevates you while simultaneously binding you to an inescapable role. It is a flawless painting for all to behold,
but one painted on a canvas that feels increasingly fragile, increasingly burdened. The true face of the pharaoh, unadorned and vulnerable, becomes a faded memory, distant as the last pharaoh of a forgotten dynasty. The sacred forging of your public persona, performed by their skilled hands shaping your very identity, their silent diligence, a chilling reminder of your lack of agency, is complete. The mask is on, and the performance must continue.
The stifling heat of the Egyptian morning pressed in, a physical weight almost as heavy as your crown, but you remained unmoved. The air, thick with the scent of dust and expectation, crackled with an almost palpable energy. Suddenly, a tremor vibrated through the palace walls, not from an earthquake, but from the synchronized steps of your bearers. You braced yourself, feeling the slight sway as you were gently lifted, not onto a chariot, but into the confines of your golden palanquin. It was a gilded cage, ornate and magnificent, yet still a cage, separating you, the divine, from the teeming masses below. This wasn't merely transport, it was a grand procession, a living tableau designed to awe and inspire fear. And every fiber of your being had to embody the absolute power it represented. Have you ever heard of a sedan in the ancient sense? Not the sleek four-wheeled chariots of today, but a ceremonial chair mounted on long poles, allowing your strongest attendants to lift you high above the ground, a human altar carried aloft by the devotion of your subjects. Whenever you left the confines of your palace, this was your chariot, a portable throne that announced your divine presence to the world. The sun, a relentless eye in the blue sky, beat down, but within your palanquin the air stirred, fanned by the colossal ostrich feather fans of your retinue. Their rhythmic swaying created a soft, rhythmic sigh, a gentle hum of power that permeated every moment of your journey. From within this enclosed splendor, you caught glimpses of the world outside, a vibrant, fleeting kaleidoscope of life. The journey commenced with the solemn beat of drums, a heartbeat of the empire echoing through the narrow palace corridors, and the long, sonorous blast of trumpets announcing your divine passage to the very gods themselves. Your palanquin, a golden vessel gliding effortlessly like a divine barge on a sea of humanity, moved slowly through the grand gates into the bustling streets of Thebes. The initial route, meticulously planned days in advance, took you through the heart of the city, past the grand temples, their towering pylons reaching for the heavens like outstretched arms in prayer, and then along the crowded marketplace. From your elevated vantage point, a subtle sense of detachment settled over you. The city, usually a cacophony of vibrant life, became a muted painting through the screened windows of your palanquin. Its sounds softened, its movements distant. You could distinguish the calls of merchants, their voices like a chorus of exotic birds, the laughter of children, a fleeting innocent melody, and the hushed murmurs of the crowds. Everywhere you went, people dropped to their knees, their heads bowed in reverence, their very posture a testament to your godhood. Their silence, a heavy blanket of respect, was broken only by the occasional fervent chant, "Long live the Pharaoh, son of Ra, bringer of prosperity." You saw their faces, a sprawling tapestry of expressions, awe, devotion, fear, and a desperate hope for your divine blessing. But within your golden shell, you felt a strange mix of emotions. A profound sense of responsibility, yes, a mountain on your shoulders, but also a poignant loneliness. You were so high above them,
both literally and figuratively, that their individual faces blurred into an anonymous mass. You, their living God, were also their most distant ruler, separated by layers of gold and the impenetrable veil of divinity. This profound loneliness, a silent, suffocating shroud, often weighs heavier than the magnificent double crown resting on your brow. Inside the palanquin, a tiny, intricately carved window, or perhaps a series of thin, horizontal slats, allowed you to observe without being fully observed. This was your all-seeing eye. You noticed the subtle shifts in the expressions of your own courtiers, those who walked alongside your palanquin just outside its golden confines. Their faces, usually composed, might momentarily betray a flicker of envy, a hint of calculation, or a fleeting spark of ambition as they caught the eye of a powerful dignitary in the crowd. Do you think nepotism is a modern concept, you might ask yourself, a wry smile playing on your lips? Oh no, it's an ancient art, refined over millennia, practiced with the precision of a master sculptor. The court itself was a living, breathing labyrinth, its corridors echoing with the whispers of favor and the rustle of papyrus scrolls bearing petitions. The courtiers were indeed sifting for gold, not in the literal sense, but in the subtle nuances of your glance, the slightest tilt of your head, the fleeting acknowledgement that could mean promotion or ruin. Their ambitions, sharp as the desert wind, often disguised by words as honeyed as the finest date wine, formed an unseen web of intrigue around you.
From your elevated perch, you could see beyond the immediate adoration. You saw the strained backs of the laborers, their muscles rippling under the relentless sun like ancient river stone. The weary lines on the faces of the market vendors, their eyes reflecting the dust and dreams of 1,000 transactions. There was a brief, poignant moment when your palanquin passed a small, secluded courtyard, and through a gap in the ornate screen, you glimpsed a mother holding her child, their laughter light and free, a melody unfettered by the strictures of divinity. It was a stark contrast to your own existence, a life lived under the constant, heavy gaze of millions, a living statue, perpetually exhibited for the world to admire. This fleeting scene, a quiet tableau of unburdened joy, was a sharp thorn in the cushion of your royal comfort, a reminder of the simple freedoms forever denied to you. The constant performance, the maintenance of the divine facade was exhausting. Inside the palanquin, even with the fanning, the air felt thick, almost suffocating. Every muscle in your body tensed, maintaining the regal posture, the impassive gaze, the subtle nod that acknowledged adoration without revealing vulnerability. You were a living symbol, not a person. The external grandeur was breathtaking, a golden sun blazing across the land, but within you were confined, a prisoner of your own majesty. The silence of your retinue, their unyielding devotion, served as a chilling echo of your absolute isolation. The journey to the great temple of Amun was particularly long, winding through the oldest parts of Thebes. Here the stone walls were scarred with the passage of centuries, silent chroniclers of empires risen and fallen. The air grew heavier, thick with the scent of ancient incense and the weight of forgotten prayers. You passed ancient houses, their mud-brick walls crumbling like old dreams, and tiny workshops where craftsmen, oblivious to your passing, hammered metal or carved wood, their lives unfolding with a simplicity that mocked your complex grandeur. This was the real Egypt, the unchanging rhythm of its people, a timeless river flowing beneath the golden veneer of your reign. You, the Pharaoh, were meant to embody this continuity, this eternal spirit, but the physical act of being carried, suspended above their world, made you feel profoundly disconnected. As the palanquin finally came to a gentle halt, the soft thump resonating through your bones, you felt a brief surge of relief, quickly suppressed. This moment of pause was merely another transition, another stage in the day's relentless performance. The doors of the palanquin opened, not to freedom, but to another set of expectations, another crowd, another round of obeisance. The sun, now high in the sky, blazed down like a colossal divine eye, its gaze as unblinking as your own cultivated stare. You descended, a god returning to earth, your feet touching the hallowed ground of the temple courtyard. The brutal truth behind the splendor, the profound loneliness hidden beneath your practiced, reluctant smiles. Perhaps only the ancient walls of your palace and the dust motes dancing in the sunbeams truly know the secrets that your divine mask conceals. Their silence is both a comfort and a chilling reminder of your constant isolation, a vast ocean separating you from the very people who carry you. The journey through the city, a majestic procession of unparalleled pomp, is a stark reminder of your dual existence. You are simultaneously the most powerful being in the land and the most isolated. Every cheer from the crowd, a wave of adulation washing over you, feels like a distant echo, unable to penetrate the thick glass of your divine solitude. You rule, you command, you are revered, but at what cost? The very air you breathe within your palanquin, though fanned by dedicated hands, feels strangely thin, like the air atop a lonely mountain peak. This grand display, a magnificent performance for the ages, serves as a constant, tangible representation of the trade-off, absolute power for absolute isolation. The sun begins to reach its zenith, casting sharp, unyielding shadows, mirroring the rigid lines of your existence. As the day wears on, moving from one ceremonial duty to another, receiving petitions, overseeing offerings, making pronouncements, the golden palanquin, now empty, stands nearby, a silent, glittering testament to your constant movement and profound stagnation. It waits, patiently, for its next divine occupant, for the next segment of your preordained life. You might catch a fleeting glimpse of it, and in that golden reflection, see not just the glint of wealth, but the gleam of golden chains, binding you irrevocably to your fate. This story, this exploration of behind the crown, continues to unfold, promising to reveal even more profound truths in the next journey, layers of history waiting to be unpeeled, like the papyrus scrolls in your vast royal library.
The first sliver of dawn, a thin blade of light slicing through the opulent darkness of your royal chambers, serves not as a gentle awakening, but as a jarring summons. A chill, sharp as a pharaoh's dagger, pierces the serene air, instantly dispelling any lingering tendrils of sleep. You are a pharaoh, and for you, there's no luxury of a slow rise, no gentle transition from the world of dreams to the brutal reality of the throne. Are you a morning person? Well, whether you are or not, as a pharaoh, you simply have no choice. The moment your eyes snap open, the world, a roaring flood of information and expectation, crashes over you. Your mind, a vast papyrus scroll unfurling with relentless speed, is immediately assaulted by administrative concerns, each detail a tiny urgent serpent coiling in your mind. The rhythmic thump of the distant palace drums, a heartbeat of duty echoing through the ancient stone, reminds you of the countless lives whose fate rests in your trembling yet powerful hands. There is no escape. Only the inexorable pull of a new day, a relentless tide of responsibility that threatens to drown you. Your mornings are not your own.
They are a relentless procession of vital receptions and urgent audiences, a grand stage where every problem in your realm demands your immediate divine intervention. You are forever putting out metaphorical fires, settling minor disputes between squabbling nobles, their whispers like venomous insects buzzing in your ear, or allocating grain from the royal granaries, a delicate balance between life and death for your starving populace. As Diodorus, the ancient historian, observed, these daily duties were not choices, but sacred commandments, each one a heavy link in the chain of your divine purpose. The early hours are consumed by the droning recitations of scribes, their voices dry as desert wind, as they read reports from every corner of your vast kingdom. You hear tales of skirmishes on the borders, sharp as desert thorns. Successes in the gold mines of Nubia, a golden promise in the sun-baked earth, and the ever-present life-giving news of the Nile's waters, a pulsing vein of existence for your people. Each piece of information demands your attention, your wisdom, your unwavering judgment. You are not just a ruler, you are the living embodiment of the cosmic order, a cosmic clockwork powered by your tireless will. Your breakfast, if you can call it that, is a hurried affair, often taken amidst the clamor of anxious petitioners or while reviewing plans for a new temple. Even the simple act of tasting sweet figs or freshly baked bread feels like another duty rather than a moment of personal pleasure. The rich, earthy aroma of the coffee, a comforting blanket in the cool morning air, is barely savored before the next delegation is announced, a wave of demands washing over your senses. After the internal affairs are swiftly, if not always satisfactorily, addressed, the gates to your grand audience chamber swing open to admit foreign dignitaries, ambassadors from distant lands, from the Fertile Crescent, from the mysterious lands of Punt, even from the fledgling city-states across the great green sea parade before you, their robes rustling like dry leaves, carrying petitions and gifts from their respective sovereigns. You listen with an air of divine impartiality, your face a mask of calm wisdom, deciphering their veiled threats and subtle pleas. The weight of their words, each phrase a potential seed of war or peace, presses upon you. One misstep, one unguarded glance, one misinterpreted silence on your part could ignite a border skirmish into a full-blown war or bring famine to your people through disrupted trade routes. You are not merely absorbing information. You are processing 1,000 geopolitical nuances, a complex tapestry woven with threads of power and vulnerability. The pressure of decision-making is a palpable weight, a colossal stone pressing down on your very soul. Will your wisdom guide the Nile to a bountiful harvest, spread across the land like a golden carpet, or will it bring the gnawing hunger that echoes in their very bones? Every pronouncement you make, every judgment delivered, is not merely a decree. It is a godlike pronouncement that echoes through the very halls of fate. Afternoons often see you presiding over complex religious ceremonies, draped in priestly vestments, heavy with embroidered symbols of ancient gods. The air in the temples is thick with incense and the murmur of prayers, a spiritual current flowing through the very stones. You lead the rituals, offering prayers to Ra, Osiris, and Isis, not just as an act of faith, but as a crucial part of your role as mediator between the gods and humanity. You are the bridge, a living conduit between the ethereal and the earthly, responsible for maintaining Ma'at, the divine order of truth and balance. This requires immense focus, a complete suppression of your own thoughts and feelings, as you become a vessel for the ancient powers. You chant the sacred words, your voice a resonant echo of ancient prophecy, perform the precise gestures, each movement a dance with eternity. All while your mind, a diligent scribe in the temple of your thoughts, meticulously reviews the day's reports and anticipates the challenges of tomorrow. Then come the architectural inspections. You walk through vast construction sites, the dust of creation clinging to the air like a fine veil, where thousands toil to erect monumental temples and grand tombs, your very own eternal legacy. The rhythmic clang of chisels against stone, a steady beat of progress, is a constant presence. You examine blueprints, make crucial decisions about design and resources, your eye discerning every detail, from the placement of a colossal statue, its unseeing gaze fixed on an unseen horizon, to the precise angle of a pyramid's face. These are not mere buildings, they are frozen poems in stone, meant to last for millennia, silent guardians of your name and deeds. The sheer scale of these projects is dizzying, a testament to your boundless ambition, but also to the relentless demand on your time and energy. You are a titan, yes, but even titans eventually tire, and the sun, a fiery whip across your shoulders, only adds to the wearying toll.
Even the royal meals, which for a commoner would be a moment of simple enjoyment, are not truly private. They are often attended by a select group of high-ranking officials and close family members, their presence a mix of comfort and subtle vigilance. The conversation, though seemingly informal, often circles back to affairs of state. A seemingly innocent question about the latest harvest could be a veiled inquiry into the granaries. A casual remark about a distant province could be a test of your political acumen. You eat not for pleasure, but for sustenance, each bite a measured necessity, aware that even amidst the finest delicacies, your mind must remain alert, a vigilant hawk circling its prey. The exquisite music, a gentle river of sound from lyres and flutes, serves only as a backdrop to the ceaseless hum of responsibility in your head. As the sun dips lower, painting the sky with hues of tired rose and deep violet, you find yourself back in your private chambers. But the day's duties are far from over. Courtiers, ever present, still present scrolls, whisper urgent news, or seek last-minute advice. Your mind, though weary, must remain sharp, constantly evaluating, constantly planning. You yearn for a moment of true solitude, a chance to simply be, without the weight of the crown, the coal, the expectations. But those moments are as rare and precious as gold nuggets in the desert, scattered jewels in the vast emptiness of your personal life. You might gaze out from your palace walls. Beyond the opulent gardens, beyond the bustling city, lies the vast, untamed desert. It stretches endlessly, a canvas of freedom that mocks your gilded cage. You see the simple farmers toiling by the Nile, their lives as raw and real as the river's mud, untouched by the suffocating weight of your crown. Do they envy you? Perhaps. But in this moment, looking at their unburdened lives, a silent longing blooms in your heart like a night-blooming Sirius, a desperate wish for the anonymous peace that is forever denied to you. When night finally descends, casting long, skeletal shadows across the desert floor, your chambers, though luxurious, offer little respite. The weight of the day's decisions presses down, a physical burden that refuses to lift. The opulent silence is not peaceful. It is a vast, echoing emptiness, filled with the unspoken anxieties of your reign. You might gaze out at the intricate carvings on your tomb walls, each hieroglyph a silent promise of eternal life, and wonder if this earthly toil is truly worth the celestial reward. The incense burns low, its fragrant smoke curling into the darkness like a departing spirit, yet sleep remains a distant, fickle friend. You close your eyes, seeking oblivion, but your mind races, a chariot of worries thundering across the plains of your thoughts. The faces of the petitioners, the whispers of the courtiers, the reports of distant rebellions, the ever-present threat of famine, these are the monsters that haunt your royal slumber. Each problem, large or small, replays itself, an endless loop in the theater of your mind. You envision the granaries, their vastness either overflowing with golden grain or tragically empty, a haunting specter of starvation. You see the faces of the generals, their expressions etched with the grim realities of border conflicts, and the cunning smiles of the priests, their wisdom a double-edged sword that cuts both ways. The weight of their conflicting advice, each one fragile and easily broken, presses upon your waking thoughts, and now your dreaming ones. Sometimes the dreams are not of duty, but of a life you never lived, a quiet home by the Nile, the scent of fresh mud, the simple joy of working the land with your own hands. These fleeting visions, as delicate as a desert flower blooming at dusk, are quickly chased away by the harsh glare of reality. You are the Pharaoh, and such dreams are a luxury, a fantasy for the common folk. Do you ever wonder if the simple farmer, sleeping soundly on his mat by the Nile, truly possesses a richer, more peaceful existence than you, the God-King? His worries are immediate, tangible. Yours are existential, stretching across an entire civilization, a tapestry woven from unyielding law and ancient tradition. He sleeps under the blanket of stars, his dreams unburdened by the fate of an empire, while your dreams are often fragments of responsibility, broken shards of duty.
The aroma of roasting goose, rich and heavy like a perfumed shroud, mingled with the sweet, cloying scent of fermented grapes, a dizzying potion of indulgence. You sit at the head of the banquet hall, a pharaoh presiding over a feast that is not merely a meal, but a lavish, overwhelming display of power and abundance. Gold platters gleam under the lamplight, reflecting the flickering ambitions of those around you, piled high with delicacies that most of your subjects could only dream of. Every succulent bite of meat, every shimmering sip of wine carries the heady flavor of absolute authority, a taste of raw, unbridled power that both exhilarates and slowly poisons. But beneath the glittering surface of this opulence, your body, a fragile vessel cloaked in divine finery, begins its silent, relentless rebellion. A subtle ache in your joints, a dull throb like a distant drum, whispers of the hidden cost of this continuous, unthinking indulgence. While the common people of Egypt primarily sustained themselves on the humble trinity of bread, beer, and a sparse diet of vegetables and fish, your existence as royalty was a stark contrast. You, a member of the royal family, indulged in a truly decadent diet, a culinary landscape overflowing with forbidden delights. The very air in their dining hall, thick with the scents of roasted meats and sweet pastries, became a rich, suffocating blanket, pressing in on you. This was your reality, a constant, almost inescapable overindulgence, a gilded cage built not of metal and stone, but of rich flavors and intoxicating aromas. The initial joy of such boundless culinary freedom had long faded, replaced with a subtle tremor beneath the divine composure, a persistent, unwelcome guest in the temple of your body. Consider the sheer variety spread before you. Beyond the plump, honey-glazed geese, their skins glistening like burnished gold, there were whole roasted oxen, fragrant with herbs, and tender legs of lamb, each cut a testament to the kingdom's bounty.
Fish from the Nile, expertly prepared, lay alongside exotic fowl from distant lands, their vibrant plumage, before cooking of course, a memory of their journey. Bowls overflowed with figs, dates, pomegranates, and grapes, jewels of the orchard, ripe with the sun's blessing. Loaves of fine white bread, unlike the coarse barley bread of the common folk, were stacked in golden baskets, their aroma a delicate contrast to the richer meats. And then the pastries, sweet concoctions of honey, nuts, and spices, each a tiny, exquisite sculpture designed to tempt and ensnare. Pitchers of sweet wine, its color a deep ruby, echoing the desert sunset, flowed freely, and thick, rich beer, a daily staple, was served in decorated goblets. It was a feast designed not just to nourish, but to declare, in every bite, the unparalleled wealth and power of the pharaoh. The light from countless oil lamps, tiny stars within the grand hall, cast a warm, inviting glow. Yet for you, it often felt like the relentless glare of the noonday sun. The sounds of lyres and flutes, a gentle river of sound, drifted through the hall, but even the music felt like a heavy, ornate curtain separating you from true peace.
This dazzling array, however, carried a hidden burden, a silent betrayal from within, silent but relentless. The constant consumption of rich meats, fatty delicacies, and sugary sweets, with the comparative scarcity of fresh vegetables and grains, began to take its toll. You felt a dull, perpetual ache in your joints, like old river stones grinding together, and a general sense of sluggishness that no amount of rest seemed to alleviate. Digestion became a slow, arduous process, your internal organs protesting with the silent eloquence of a besieged city. A nagging indigestion, a slow burning fever of discomfort became your constant companion, an unwelcome guest at every elaborate meal. It was a gradual erosion of your vitality, like the Nile carving away at soft sandstone, a persistent shadow clinging to your opulent robes. This constant battle with your own physical form, a skirmish fought daily in the privacy of your chambers, added another layer to the profound loneliness of your position. You were a god, yes, but a god afflicted with mortal weaknesses, a deity tethered to the vulnerabilities of the human condition. While the common physician attended to the ailments of the populace with humble herbs and practical remedies, your own royal doctors, highly skilled, often found themselves navigating a delicate balance. They dare not criticize the divine diet directly. Instead, they offered poultices, herbal teas, and elaborate cleansing rituals, ancient balms for a modern malaise, which provided temporary relief but never truly addressed the root cause. You might secretly yearn for the simple, unadorned meal of a farmer, a bowl of lentils, a piece of flatbread, perhaps a single roasted fish. Something that would truly nourish your body without the accompanying burden of excess. But such a choice was never yours. Every aspect of your life, including your diet, was a carefully orchestrated performance, a reflection of your divine status. Your very palate was guided by the crown, a golden leash that dictated your desires. The mental toll of this forced indulgence was equally heavy. You might look out from the grand dining hall through a high, narrow window and catch a glimpse of the city below. You'd see children playing, their laughter bright as sun-drenched pottery, or a family sharing a simple meal outdoors, their bond a warm, visible aura. Their food, though plain, seemed to be enjoyed with a genuine hunger and simple satisfaction that you, the pharaoh, rarely experienced. The knowledge that your people, your very subjects, sometimes faced lean times, even famine, while you sat amidst such unparalleled abundance, was a bitter herb in the sweetest wine. There were times, late at night, when the image of a starving child, a fleeting thought, would cling to your mind like a burr, making the taste of the richest pastry turn to ash on your tongue. This was the hidden curse in every morsel. The divine privilege of unlimited food became your silent tormentor, a hidden enemy within your own flesh. It was a testament to the profound irony of your existence. The power to command anything, yet the inability to command your own physical well-being or even a simple, unburdened meal. Past pharaohs, perhaps like Ramesses III, whose mummy shows signs of severe atherosclerosis from a rich diet, surely faced similar struggles. Their faces, captured in stone, rarely betray the internal skirmishes they fought with their own indulgence, but the record of their ailments, often passed down through medical papyri, hints at the price of their divine tables. Each pharaoh in their own time inherited not only the crown, but also the accompanying burdens, including the very food that sustained their godly image. As the day waned and the time for the evening feast approached, a faint dread might settle in your stomach, a premonition of discomfort rather than pleasure. The endless procession of dishes, a parade of culinary triumph, no longer excited, but exhausted. You yearned for the simplicity of a commoner's meal, a humble bread, a simple fish, something that might offer true nourishment without the accompanying burden of excess. But such a choice was never yours. Your diet, like every other aspect of your life, is dictated by the crown, a golden leash that guides your very palate. The banquet hall lights up once more, a dazzling stage for another performance of abundance, and you, the pharaoh, must once again play your part, a divine actor in a perpetual play, consuming your destiny one lavish bite at a time. The very act of eating has been transformed into another layer of your performance, another duty to fulfill, another weight to bear. Your body, a canvas of the divine, is also a silent archive of the excesses you are forced to endure. And as the final fragments of the feast are cleared away and the final chords of the musicians fade into the deep Egyptian night, you are left with the lingering taste of indulgence and the heavy price it exacts.
The air in the royal palace, usually thick with the scent of incense and the murmur of distant reports, seemed to carry a different, more intimate hum this evening. It was the collective breath of your vast harem, a hidden universe of silk and whispers, a world within a world, teeming labyrinth of women, each one a thread in the intricate tapestry of your power, a living testament to your virility and wealth. While most ordinary Egyptians lived in simple monogamy, their lives neatly ordered by a single bond, you, the pharaoh, were permitted to have multiple wives. And oh, how you reveled in displaying this strength, a living, breathing monument to your endless dominion. Each additional wife, each concubine brought into your orbit, served as a potent symbol, a glittering jewel added to your already magnificent crown. At the apex of this complex social structure stood your great royal wife, a queen whose status often rivaled your own in divine significance, the primary consort with the highest rank. Yet beneath her elevated position resided an untold number of secondary wives and concubines, each with her own suite of rooms, her own retinue of servants, and her own desperate hopes, all within the sprawling confines of the royal harem. Imagine this royal harem not as a single building, but as a sprawling, self-contained city within the palace complex. It boasted its own lush gardens, oases of tranquility amidst the desert's embrace, where fragrant lotus blossoms floated on cool, clear ponds, and papyrus rustled softly in the evening breeze. Hidden pathways, like veins of secrecy, wound through groves of date palms and sycamore trees, leading to secluded pavilions, private bathhouses, and sun-drenched courtyards. The air was always infused with the delicate scents of jasmine and myrrh, a sweet, lingering perfume that spoke of hidden luxuries and untold stories. In the quiet of these spaces, far from the bustling public courts, the women of your harem lived their lives, a mosaic of routines, rivalries, and quiet aspirations. Their days were not idle. While the men of the court navigated the political currents of the empire, these women cultivated a refined existence. They might spend their mornings meticulously braiding their long dark hair, each strand a silky ribbon of time, or applying kohl to their eyes with practiced grace, framing their gazes like ancient hieroglyphs. Many dedicate hours to the education of their children, for the future of Egypt, in part, lay within these private walls. They learned to play the harp or the lute, their fingers dancing across the strings like sunbeams on water, filling the inner courtyards with melodies that were both melancholic and mesmerizing. Others engaged in intricate needlework, their stitches weaving tales of patience and silent endurance, or studied ancient texts, their minds, like hidden springs beneath the desert, yearning for knowledge. There were quiet gatherings for tea, where gentle whispers carried more weight than shouted decrees in the outer court. A subtle dance of alliances and veiled intentions. Beneath the veneer of serenity and opulence, a constant, unspoken tension permeated the harem, a fine, invisible thread of rivalry woven into the very fabric of daily life. While overt conflict was forbidden, a silent battle for your attention and favor raged perpetually. A new, exquisite piece of jewelry worn by one consort could be interpreted as a subtle challenge by another. A longer conversation with you during a rare visit could ignite a spark of jealousy, a tiny, smoldering ember in the quiet corners of the heart. The women learned to communicate through glances, through a slight tilt of a head, the almost imperceptible curl of a lip. It was a game of shadows and smiles, a delicate dance on the razor's edge of favor, where affection was a currency more valuable than gold or jewels. Even their children, innocent as they were part of this intricate web. The mothers, like watchful lionesses in a hidden pride, subtly guided their children's interactions, hoping to secure a brighter future through their progeny. This inherent competition meant that genuine intimacy, a deep, trusting bond between the wives, was a rare and fragile thing, a desert bloom that struggled to survive in the arid landscape of ambition. They were bound by their shared fate within the harem, yet often separated by their individual hopes for power and influence. The great royal wife, though outwardly revered, often bore the heaviest burden. She was the anchor of the royal family, the mother of the primary heir, but also the most scrutinized, the most envied. Her life was a constant performance of dignified grace, a carefully choreographed dance on a stage of glass.
Then there were your children, a river flowing with both affection and cunning, each one a unique reflection of your virility and power. Sons, destined for roles of power, were educated rigorously, their lives strictly regimented, molded to serve the empire. They learned statesmanship, military tactics, and the sacred rituals of their divine lineage. Yet beneath the royal upbringing, they were children caught in a perpetual popularity contest, vying for their father's elusive affection, a treasure more precious than any gold. They learned early that their very identity was tied to their mother's status, their future defined by the intricate politics of the harem. The older princes, already men, understood the stakes. The path to the throne was not always linear, and the favor of the pharaoh, as fickle as the desert wind, could shift unexpectedly. Thus, even among siblings, a subtle tension existed, a silent, unending whisper of ambition that clouded the warmth of familial bonds. The daughters, often destined for diplomatic marriages with foreign potentates or important roles within the religious hierarchy, also lived lives of gilded constraint. Their beauty, their education, their very existence were assets to be deployed for the stability of the empire. They were taught grace, composure, and the delicate art of negotiation, but often at the cost of personal choice. Their smiles were for the kingdom, bright as the midday sun. Their hearts often held their true longings captive, like precious birds in an ornate cage. The constant presence of the eunuchs and overseers, their faces impassive as stone, added another layer to this complex world. They were the silent guardians of the harem, privy to every whisper, every secret glance, yet bound by their vows of silence. They ensured order, conveyed messages, and managed the vast logistical needs of the hundreds of women and children within the complex. They were the eyes and ears of the pharaoh, a silent network of vigilance, their loyalty paramount. Their very existence was a constant reminder that even in this most private of domains, true solitude was an illusion. The eunuchs, ghostly figures gliding through perfumed corridors, watched and reported, their presence a soft, ever-present hum of unseen surveillance. No secret remained truly hidden within these walls, no ambition truly unobserved. The grand halls of the harem, usually filled with the gentle sounds of distant music or children's laughter, could at times feel profoundly empty. For all the bodies within, genuine connection was often elusive, a rare and fleeting shadow in the relentless sun of expectation. A young wife, perhaps brought from a distant city or a foreign land as a political pawn, might spend her days gazing at the intricate patterns on her ceiling, each curve a labyrinth mirroring her own confined fate, yearning for the simple freedom of her childhood home, for the familiar scent of her family's hearth. Her loneliness, a silent, aching companion, would grow with each passing moon, despite the silk garments and jeweled collars she wore. She was a possession, a symbol, rather than a person with desires beyond the pharaoh's will. Even the pharaoh, the very heart of this vast family, navigated its complexities with a distinct form of isolation. While he held the ultimate power over their lives and destinies, the sheer number of relationships prevented deep individual bonds. Each visit to a wife's chambers, each conversation with a child was carefully timed, often observed, and always carried the weight of expectation. There was little room for spontaneous affection or unguarded moments. Love, if it existed, was often a secondary consideration to duty, a delicate bloom overshadowed by the colossal monument of kingship. The responsibility for securing the lineage, for ensuring a strong heir, was a constant, unspoken pressure, making each interaction a potential political maneuver. The very air in the harem, thick with the scents of exotic flowers and the quiet breathing of hundreds of souls, held within it the silent stories of lives lived under an ever-present gaze. The rustle of a passing gown, the soft murmur of voices from behind a veiled doorway, the faint echo of a child's cry. These were the subtle sounds of a world where appearances reigned supreme and personal desires were often sacrificed on the altar of royal duty. This was a place of dazzling beauty, yes, but also a place where hearts, though beating within luxurious confines, were often held captive by the relentless demands of the crown. The labyrinth of the harem, with its intricate passages and hidden meanings, reflected the very essence of Egyptian royalty, a life of immense power, but also immense personal constraint. It was another facet of the profound truth that, behind the crown, the glittering symbol of a god, lay the complex, often sorrowful reality of a human life.
The desert wind, a whispered lament through the palace's colossal stones, carried an unseen chill, far deeper than the cooling night air. It wasn't merely the sand's breath, but the insidious murmur of 1,000 secrets, a serpent's hiss echoing through the labyrinthine corridors. You lie on your ornate bed, the silks cool against your skin, but your mind, a churning cauldron of suspicion, refuses to rest. Every creak of the ancient timbers, every rustle of the distant date palms, sounds like the stealthy footsteps of an unseen enemy. Is it the wind, a phantom caress of the night, or the soft tread of a traitor, a shadow poised to strike at the very heart of your power? Your heart, a frantic drum against your ribs, hammers a chilling rhythm, each beat a chilling reminder of your fragile mortality beneath the cloak of divinity. A bead of sweat, cold as a tombstone, trickles down your temple, betraying the fear that even a god-king cannot escape. Night descends upon the palace, cloaking its grandeur in a deceptive veil of peace, but it also ushers in the never-sleeping whispers that haunt the royal courts. You lie awake, your senses sharpened by the ever-present threat, straining to discern meaning in every ambient sound. Is that the distant rustle of the wind through the papyrus reeds outside, or the hushed footsteps of a rival, a phantom stalking your very breath? The weight of your crown, a heavy, invisible burden, presses down even in slumber, denying true rest. The air itself feels heavy, charged with unspoken resentments and simmering ambitions. History is replete with tales of betrayal in royal courts, a chilling melody of deceit played across millennia. From the time of the earliest kings, those who sat upon the golden throne understood that power, while absolute, was also a magnet for treachery. The very people who outwardly bowed lowest might harbor the deepest resentment, their smiles thin veils over sharp daggers. This was not merely the stuff of legends. It was a recurrent nightmare for every ruler, a constant, nagging dread. Even a loyal dog's bark outside your chambers, a comforting sound in a world of silence, could be misinterpreted as a signal for an accomplice, a secret code whispered on the night wind. The palace, once a sanctuary, now feels like a vast, echoing fortress, each shadow a potential hiding place for a hidden blade. Your most trusted viziers, their faces etched with the wisdom of years, might be the very ones secretly orchestrating your downfall. The high priests, their voices resonating with divine authority, could be weaving a different kind of spell, a web of manipulation spun from sacred threads. Even members of your own royal family, perhaps a neglected brother or an ambitious son, might see your demise as their only path to greater glory, a glittering prize waiting to be seized. The suspicion, a slow-acting poison, infiltrates every interaction, turning the most innocent gesture into a possible sign of disloyalty. This leads to discreet inquiries, secret observations, shadows moving within shadows. You summon your most loyal guards, those whose eyes seem truly devoid of ambition, and task them with vigilance. They become your unseen extensions, phantom limbs reaching into the dark corners of your court, tasked with observing the subtle shifts in allegiance, the quiet meetings, the unusual comings and goings. The air in the palace hallways grows heavier with unspoken tension. Courtiers become more guarded, their smiles more forced, their eyes darting around, aware that someone is watching, perhaps even listening to their most innocuous conversations. The very stones of the palace, silent witnesses to centuries of intrigue, seem to absorb this growing fear, radiating it back into the hushed atmosphere.
The suspicion affects your interactions with everyone. During your morning audiences, your gaze, once regal and benevolent, now pierces each supplicant, searching for the slightest hint of duplicity. When a general reports on border skirmishes, you weigh his words not only for their strategic insight, but for hidden motives. When a priest discusses the will of the gods, you question if his piety serves a higher power or a more earthly, self-serving agenda. This constant vigilance, a heavy cloak woven from threads of distrust, becomes an unbearable weight. Sleep offers little escape. For the faces of those you suspect, their smiles mocking, their eyes gleaming with hidden intent, haunt your dreams, a macabre parade in the theater of your mind. The sheer weight of suspicion, a suffocating blanket woven from distrust, presses down on you, making every breath a shallow, anxious gasp. This paranoia, an unwelcome chill, transforms your opulent chambers into a gilded cage, a labyrinth of suspicion where every turn hides a potential trap. You start to view every gift with a wary eye, every compliment as a veiled flattery, concealing a hidden blade. The grand banquets, once displays of your power, now feel like a chessboard where lives are pawns, each move a silent battle for survival. You are the king, yes, but also the most vulnerable piece. The golden prize, coveted by all, whose demise would unleash a torrent of ambition. The absence of a true confidant becomes a relentless drain on your spirit. Trust becomes a perilous bridge, a fragile structure over a bottomless chasm. And you, the pharaoh, are often left with no one to confide in, no true confidant with whom to share the crushing burden of your doubts. The very people who pledge their lives to you might be the ones secretly plotting your demise, a chilling reality that permeates your every waking moment. Consider the historical echoes, whispers from the tombs of long-departed kings. Even Ramesses III, a pharaoh renowned for his military prowess and grand building projects, faced a harrowing harem conspiracy, a venomous plot born from the very heart of his domestic realm. Though the details are often shrouded in the mist of time, the mere existence of such a plot speaks volumes about the inherent instability that lurked beneath the gilded surface of royal life. Tutankhamun's own untimely death, a mystery that still puzzles the cleverest minds, has fueled centuries of speculation, with some historians hinting at foul play, a silent hand guiding destiny in the darkness. These are not isolated incidents, they are grim reminders, like cold hieroglyphs carved into the stone of history, that the throne, for all its glory, was a seat fraught with peril. The past is not merely a collection of dusty records, it is a living shadow, a silent prophet of potential dangers foretelling the treachery that could emerge from the very ranks of those sworn to protect you. The palace grounds, usually vibrant with the daily activities of courtiers and servants, now feel subtly altered. A hush often falls over conversations as you approach, a sudden silence, thick and heavy like the desert night. Eyes that once met yours with open deference now seem to flicker away too quickly, like shy birds taking flight, or hold a gaze just a fraction too long, suggesting an unspoken challenge. Even the familiar faces of your closest advisors seem to acquire new, unfamiliar lines, etched by secrets they guard from you. You begin to question their advice, their loyalties, their very presence, each thought a tiny fissure spreading through the foundations of your trust. The subtle signs of discontent or conspiracy are rarely overt. They are phantom whispers, elusive as mist over the Nile. Perhaps it is a strange gathering of minor officials in a secluded courtyard after dark, their voices low, their heads close together, a cluster of shadows conspiring in the moonlight. Or a sudden inexplicable shift in the palace guard's rotation ordered by a subordinate without your direct command. A missing papyrus scroll from a secured archive, A single piece of a puzzle, deliberately removed, could hint at information being sought or concealed. You notice the strange absence of a loyal, long-serving servant, perhaps reassigned without your knowledge, replaced by a newcomer whose eyes hold an unsettling intensity, like distant embers in a hidden cavern. These are the small fissures, tiny cracks in the grand facade of your empire, through which the venom of conspiracy can seep. Your nights, once reserved for the fleeting peace of sleep, become extended vigils. You often rise from your bed, a solitary figure moving through the moonlit corridors to walk the vast palace, listening, observing, a silent predator stalking unseen prey. The elaborate carvings on the walls, depicting glorious battles and divine blessings, now seem to mock your internal turmoil. You pass the empty council chambers, imagining the clandestine meetings, the hushed pacts, the silent oaths sworn against you. Every shadow appears to writhe with hidden forms, a silent ballet of imagined threats, and every distant sound is scrutinized, becoming a potential coded message, a prearranged signal for a treacherous act. The very air within your royal chambers, though scented with purifying frankincense, feels tainted by this ever-present dread. Your loyal bodyguards, their forms like granite pillars at your door, become a source of both comfort and suspicion. Can you truly trust them? Are their silent vows enough to shield you from the very treachery that might breed within their own ranks? This profound isolation, a chilling shroud woven from absolute power, is the ultimate price of your divine status. It means that even as you sit on the throne, with thousands bowing before you, you are utterly, terrifyingly alone in your fears. The grand halls of your palace, once symbols of your triumph, now feel like echoing chambers, magnifying your solitude. Each step you take resonates with the hollow echo of your isolation. You are the supreme ruler, yet you are also the ultimate target, a golden prize coveted by all. The whispers of conspiracy, soft as a desert wind but sharp as a serpent's tooth, are your constant companions, turning the very air you breathe into a medium for dread. This insidious atmosphere, a slow-acting poison, erodes your peace of mind, robbing you of the simple human comfort of security. As the moon continues its silent journey across the Egyptian sky, you understand that the battle for your throne is never truly won, only momentarily paused. The anonymous note, a single drop of venom, has irrevocably stained your once unwavering faith in those around you.
The desert sun, a brutal, blinding eye in the vast azure sky, beat down, turning the undulating dunes into a shimmering, endless canvas. Your chariot, a gilded cage on wheels, jolted slightly, not truly hunting, but making its grand entrance onto a meticulously prepared stage. The air crackled, not with the thrill of the chase, but with the palpable excitement of your courtiers, their eager whispers like 1,000 nervous bees buzzing around a queen. You gripped your bow, the polished wood cool against your palm, your muscles tensed, not from anticipation of a struggle, but from the sheer weight of expectation. Today, you are not merely the pharaoh, you are the divine hunter, a living embodiment of strength, a titan conquering the untamed wilderness. Your heart, a steady, deliberate drum against your ribs, pumped, not with adrenaline, but with the cool precision of a performer ready to execute their part in this age-old charade. Royal hunting was a privilege, a glittering badge of your divine office, reserved exclusively for the elite members of the royal family. Only you, the pharaoh, were permitted to pursue the great beasts of the desert, such as the formidable lion, a symbol of untamed power. This wasn't a matter of survival. For every sustenance, every delicacy was already meticulously prepared and laid before you within the palace walls. No, This was an assertion, a silent decree carved into the very sand, demonstrating your absolute control not just over your subjects, but over the wild heart of nature itself. It was an ancient ballet, a performance of dominion played out under the unblinking eye of Ra. As your chariot rumbled deeper into the designated hunting ground, you observe the stage that has been so carefully set. This was no untamed wilderness, but a vast, sprawling enclosure meticulously prepared days in advance. Invisible to the eye, yet profoundly present, were the subtle boundaries, perhaps a series of low, sand-colored nets or carefully placed guards hidden behind natural dunes and rock formations, their eyes like sharp desert stones, ensuring that no prey could truly escape and no unforeseen danger could ever truly reach you. The chosen animals, perhaps a trio of magnificent lions, their tawny coats shimmering like molten gold in the sun, or a herd of graceful antelopes, their movements as fluid as wind-blown silk, had been subtly guided into this expansive arena. They were not hunted down in the true sense, but gently, almost respectfully, positioned for your grand performance. The desert flora, resilient survivors against the sun's fury, dotted the landscape, providing just enough cover to give the illusion of a genuine pursuit, but never enough to truly impede your regal progress. The air itself, though hot, felt oddly still, a velvet curtain before a grand unveiling, as if nature itself held its breath in anticipation of your divine performance. Along the perimeter of this grand spectacle stood your courtiers, their finest linens and gleaming jewelry reflecting the sun's brilliance. Generals with their polished breastplates, priests in their spotless white robes, scribes with their papyrus and styluses ready to record your triumph, they formed a living, breathing amphitheater, a vibrant mosaic of power and expectation. Their eager whispers, a soft rustle like dry palm fronds, created a collective hum of anticipation. Their cheers, when the moment came, would be loud and resounding, not merely spontaneous bursts of excitement, but a rehearsed chorus of adulation, a wave of praise timed to perfection. Each one knew their role in this magnificent charade: to bear witness, to applaud, to magnify your glory, and perhaps to dream of a fraction of your power. You grip your bow tighter, feeling the familiar weight of the polished wood, a smooth extension of your will. Each arrow in your quiver, its feathered fletching, a delicate whisper of destiny, is perfectly balanced. Your movements, honed by years of practice, are fluid, precise, and utterly devoid of genuine thrill. This is a dance you have performed countless times. You know exactly where the prey will emerge, guided by unseen hands. You know the exact angle to release the arrow for the most dramatic and aesthetically pleasing shot. There is no element of surprise, no true test of skill against the cunning of the wild. It is a meticulously choreographed sequence, a silent pantomime of dominance, designed to project an image of effortless mastery. Internally, a quiet sigh escapes you, a whisper lost in the vastness of the desert. You yearn for a genuine challenge, a moment where your heart truly pounds, not from a scripted performance, but from the raw, unpredictable thrill of the hunt. This repetitive precision, this flawless execution, paradoxically breeds a deep, subtle boredom, a slow, creeping sand that fills the spaces of your unfulfilled spirit.
The chariot itself, a marvel of royal craftsmanship adorned with gold and precious stones, becomes another part of this magnificent deception. Its powerful horses, their muscles rippling like sculpted bronze, are expertly trained, not for a frantic chase, but for a majestic, controlled advance. They move with a rhythmic grace, their hooves a steady drumbeat on the sand, pulling you smoothly towards your predetermined target. You stand tall, your posture unwavering, your face a mask of divine focus.
Every muscle in your body is engaged, not in the desperate pursuit of a fleeing beast, but in maintaining the perfect tableau, the quintessential image of the God-King in action. The crowd's cheers, when they erupt, wash over you, a deafening roar of manufactured adoration. And for a brief moment, you allow yourself to be enveloped by the illusion, to believe in the reality of your own projected power. Yet a part of you remains detached, an observer of your own performance, a silent critic in the grand theater of your life. The actual act of the kill is swift and expertly managed. The animal, having been subtly guided, presents itself in the optimal position. Your arrow, a golden streak against the blue sky, flies true, striking its mark with textbook precision. A collective gasp, then a roar of triumph erupts from the courtiers, a symphony of engineered praise. They see the divine hunter, the embodiment of strength and valor, vanquishing the wild. They see the proof of your absolute power. But you, standing there, bow still in hand, feel only the quiet resonance of a task completed, an empty victory, played out on a meticulously prepared stage. There is no surge of primal satisfaction, no true sense of accomplishment that comes from facing a genuine, unpredictable challenge. The wild has been tamed long before you even arrived, its ferocity reduced to a calculated appearance for your benefit. This carefully orchestrated display, though outwardly magnificent, is a constant reminder of the gilded cage that is your existence. You, the Pharaoh, are allowed no spontaneity, no true freedom, no authentic encounters with the raw, untamed world. Even your triumphs are preordained, a mockery of true freedom. The roar of the captured lion, if it roars, is but an echo of the wild, a distant memory of a power that you, despite all your might, cannot truly command or experience on its own terms. You are confined by your divinity, a golden bird in a jeweled cage, permitted only to perform the grand gestures of freedom, never to truly taste it. You recall the stories of Thutmose III, his military campaigns depicted in vibrant relief on temple walls, each battle a testament to raw, earned strength and courage. He truly led armies, truly faced chaos, truly hunted dangerous beasts in their natural habitats, not in a prearranged arena. He fought lions on the battlefield, not in a sand pit. He confronted the untamed and emerged victorious, earning his legend through genuine struggle. Compared to his fierce authenticity, your carefully constructed hunt feels like a fragile illusion, a palace offered by deceit. Your hand, still holding the bow, feels strangely weak, devoid of the power it supposedly wielded. You, by contrast, feel like a shadow, merely performing a role, living within a grand, elaborate play. The sounds of the returning procession, the rhythmic beat of drums and the distant shouts of celebration seem to fade, becoming a dull thrum in your ears. You pick at a loose thread on your royal tunic, a small, mundane gesture that grounds you, if only for a moment, in a reality that feels less grand, less fake. The sand, kicked up by the chariot wheels, tastes gritty on your tongue, a harsh reminder of the desert's indifferent truth. You are the Pharaoh, a god among men, but in this moment, you feel profoundly human, burdened by the weight of your own magnificent lie.
The cool night air, a gentle balm on your fevered skin, offers little comfort. Even on your luxurious bed, crafted from cedar and inlaid with gold, every shift brings a dull throb from your aching bones, a constant whisper of discomfort. You are the Pharaoh,
a living god, yet your body is a battleground, a fragile vessel besieged by unseen enemies. The skilled court physician, his brow furrowed with concern, murmurs prayers to Thoth and prescribes rare herbal concoctions, their pungent aroma filling your chambers. But deep down, you know, this isn't merely illness. It is the insidious price of a bloodline pure to the point of being brittle, a fragile tapestry woven with threads of infirmity, the inevitable consequence of a lifetime of unending feasts you could never refuse, each lavish meal a slow, sweet poison. Despite being revered as divine, ancient Egyptian monarchs, for all their power, were undeniably mortal. Many, in fact, were remarkably unhealthy. Their godlike facades often concealed frail, suffering bodies. The relentless practice of inbreeding, a strategy to maintain the purity of the royal lineage and consolidate power, created shallow genetic pools, a stagnant pond where defects flourished. Tutankhamun serves as a stark, tragic example of this consequence, likely suffering from genetic issues that caused him to walk with a limp and endure numerous physical ailments throughout his short reign. Not exactly the image of a god-king striding across his dominion like a majestic sphinx. He was a divine spirit trapped in a decaying temple, a flickering candle in the wind. The dawn, a painter of soft hues across the eastern sky, brings with it not relief, but a renewed, subtle torment. As your attendants prepare your morning ablutions, each movement, each bend of your joints sends a sharp, protesting twinge through your limbs. The pain in your knees and hips, a gnawing beast that rarely sleeps, makes the simple act of stepping into the cool, perfumed water a slow, deliberate ritual of endurance. Your fingers, once strong and agile enough to meticulously apply the coal to your own eyes, now sometimes stiffen, refusing to obey with their usual precision, a small rebellion of the flesh against the will of a god. The chronic fatigue, a heavy cloak woven from lead, clings to you even after hours of restless sleep, making every early morning audience feel like a monumental performance requiring every last ounce of your diminishing energy. The very act of standing tall on the dais, arms crossed over your chest in the traditional regal pose, can become an exquisite agony, a silent crucifixion on the altar of duty. Beyond the visible aches, a more insidious enemy often lurks unseen. The food, though exquisite and abundant, often carries with it the unseen burden of dental issues. The coarse grind of the grains in your finely baked bread, a consequence of primitive milling techniques, leaves a gritty residue that slowly, relentlessly grinds down your teeth. The constant dull ache of decaying molars, a persistent drumbeat of discomfort, can make every luxurious bite a source of quiet dread, and the occasional sharp, shooting pain, like a tiny, furious serpent striking, makes you clench your jaw in a silent grimace. Even your skin, constantly exposed to the dry desert winds and the harsh sun, despite being slathered in the finest scented oils, can suffer from persistent irritations, a canvas of minor afflictions beneath your flawless divine mask. These are the small, daily battles you fight, a private war waged within the confines of your own body, hidden from the adoring eyes of your subjects. Your skilled royal physician, a man whose lineage stretches back generations of healers and whose hands are reputed to carry the blessing of Thoth, works tirelessly. He mixes elaborate poultices from rare herbs gathered from the fertile Nile banks and exotic spices traded from distant lands, their rich, earthy scents filling your private chambers like a somber promise. He meticulously prepares decoctions from crushed minerals, their colors muted like ancient desert sands, and offers tinctures distilled from medicinal plants. He also believes deeply in the power of the divine. Daily he performs elaborate rituals within your presence, chanting ancient prayers to Sekhmet, the fierce lioness goddess of healing, her stone image seeming to watch over you with unblinking emerald eyes. He places beautifully crafted amulets, small, smooth tokens imbued with protective magic, upon your chest or near your pillow. The Ankh, symbol of life, the Eye of Horus, guardian against evil and illness. Yet for all his profound knowledge and unwavering devotion, for all the gold and precious gems poured into his efforts, he is ultimately a man battling the inexorable forces of genetics and the limitations of his era. He can soothe, he can alleviate, but he cannot cure the fundamental fragility woven into the very fabric of your royal being. The vast wealth and absolute power you wield can summon the finest healers, the rarest remedies, but it cannot purchase the simple, robust health denied to your pure, yet brittle lineage. You are left to endure, a king on a throne of thorns, bearing a burden that even your divinity cannot fully alleviate.
The psychological toll of maintaining this facade is immense, a silent, crushing weight that presses upon your very soul. You are a living god, yet you are intimately acquainted with mortal weakness. Every public appearance, every grand ceremony becomes an intricate performance. When the pain in your knee flares, a sudden, sharp spike like a hidden scorpion's sting, you must not flinch, but rather translate the momentary grimace into a solemn expression of divine thought. If a tremor runs through your hand, it must be instantly disguised as a deliberate, thoughtful gesture. The elaborate kohl around your eyes, a heavy, sacred paint, not only enhances your divine gaze, but also cleverly conceals the dark shadows of sleepless nights, like tiny crescent moons beneath tired stars. The carefully constructed wigs, often heavy and hot, hide any signs of thinning hair or fatigue-induced scalp issues. You must always project an image of perfect health, effortless vitality, and unyielding strength. For any sign of weakness could be interpreted as a bad omen, a flaw in the divine conduit, or worse, an invitation for usurpers. This constant concealment creates a profound, suffocating loneliness. There is no one, not even your most trusted advisors or beloved family members, to whom you can fully reveal the extent of your suffering. To admit vulnerability would be to undermine the very foundation of your rule, to expose the fragile human beneath the gilded divine exterior. So you suffer in solitude, a king isolated by his own perfection, surrounded by a court that worships your image but knows nothing of your true daily struggle. Your smiles, often practiced and serene, hide deep weariness. The quiet moments in your private chambers, far from being a respite, often become a time when the pain, unmasked by duty, asserts itself with renewed ferocity, a relentless tide washing over your tired body. The rituals of healing often blend seamlessly with the daily functions of the court. Priests, in their spotless white robes, might offer blessings of health during morning audiences, their voices a hypnotic drone, a gentle river of sound. You would receive these blessings with solemn dignity, knowing that while they offered spiritual comfort to your people, the physical relief for you was often fleeting, a whisper of hope quickly carried away by the desert wind. The very air in your private sanctuaries, scented with purifying frankincense and myrrh, becomes saturated with the echoes of these quiet struggles. The walls, adorned with vibrant depictions of healthy, vigorous pharaohs, their forms eternally young and strong, serve as both inspiration and a poignant reminder of the impossible ideal you must embody. As night falls once more, casting long, skeletal shadows across the stone floors, you prepare for another night of restless vigil. The weight of your physical ailments, a constant companion that refuses to depart, settles over you. You gaze at the small, intricate amulet hanging above your bed, an eye of Horus for protection, wondering if even divine symbols can truly protect against the inevitable decay of mortal flesh.
The fleeting moments of comfort are like rare desert blooms, beautiful but transient, quickly swallowed by the encroaching shadows of discomfort. You long for a single night of true rest, a moment free from discomfort, but it is a luxury denied. Your sleep is punctuated by sharp aches, by the desperate coughs that rack your chest, by the constant awareness of your body's decline. As dawn approaches, painting the eastern sky in soft hues of rose and gold, you prepare for another day of being the pharaoh, a symbol of strength and vitality. You don your heavy regalia, conceal your limp, perhaps, or hide the tremor in your hands. The masks you wear are many, and the most challenging is that of perfect health. You will meet your advisors, preside over court, listen to petitions, all while battling the hidden ailments that chip away at your strength. This silent suffering, a heavy, invisible crown worn beneath the golden one, adds another layer to the profound isolation that defines your existence. You are a god, yes, but a god tied to the limitations of flesh, a divine spirit trapped in a decaying temple. The elaborate rituals, the daily prayers, the grand processions, all are designed to reinforce your divinity. But in the quiet hours of night, when the pain intensifies, the illusion crumbles. The weight of your own body, a familiar tormentor, reminds you that even a god is subject to the relentless passage of time and the frailties of mortal being.
The last breath, a fragile whisper on the heavy air, was not a roar, nor a plea, but a silent release. The weight of the crown, a golden burden worn for a lifetime, finally lifted, its oppressive presence dissolving into the stillness of the chamber. Around your bed, the hushed murmurs of priests mingled with the quiet grief of loyal retainers. Your fingers, once command-givers, twitched, then lay still. The realm you ruled, the grand decrees you uttered, the very tapestry of an empire shaped by your will, it all now belonged to history, a river flowing onward without you. This was the ultimate truth, a silent, unyielding decree from the cosmos, before which even a living god bowed. You, the pharaoh, were regarded as divine, the very incarnation of Horus or Ra on earth. Yet the truth, stark and unyielding, was that even you could not escape death. It stood as the ultimate equalizer, a vast, silent ocean that claimed all, regardless of station. A final decree no power, no army, no divine claim could ever challenge. It stripped away the ceremonial regalia, the layers of myth and majesty, leaving only the fragile essence of a mortal being. The rituals of your passing were grand, meticulously orchestrated, a final magnificent performance to usher you into the afterlife. Your body would undergo an elaborate embalming process, a sacred transformation designed to defy decay and ensure eternal life. For 70 long days, this intricate procedure would unfold within the purification tent, a hallowed space permeated with the scent of spices and solemn reverence. The embalmers, a specialized caste of priests, worked with precise, practiced movements, their hands swift and sure, guided by ancient texts and generations of accumulated knowledge. They were not merely preserving flesh, they were meticulously preparing a vessel for the Ka and Ba, the vital components of your soul, to return to and recognize in the hereafter. First, your internal organs, considered the most perishable parts, were carefully removed, not with brutality, but with ritualistic precision, a gentle severing of earthly ties. Each organ, lungs, stomach, intestines, and liver, was then carefully treated with natron, a natural salt that drew out moisture like a thirsty desert wind, and placed into its own canopic jar, each stoppered with the head of one of Horus's 4 sons, their watchful eyes guarding your precious vitality. Your heart, however, remained within your body, for it was believed to be the seat of intelligence, emotion, and the very essence of your being,
crucial for the weighing of your soul in the hall of two truths. The brain, however, was deemed less important, subtly removed through the nostrils, a delicate procedure that left little trace. Once cleansed and prepared, your body was thoroughly dried with vast quantities of natron, a salt-like substance, packed both internally and externally. For weeks, you would rest, covered in this powerful desiccant, under the careful watch of the priests. The natron, a silent, tireless worker, drew out every trace of moisture, preventing decay and preserving your form for eternity. The air in the embalming tent became thick with the dry, earthy scent of the salt, mingling with the sweeter, more potent aromas of resins and oils that would be used later. After this drying period, your body was washed once more, then anointed with a myriad of sacred oils and fragrant resins, cedar oil, myrrh, frankincense, each layer applied with reverence, a fragrant symphony that prepared you for divine slumber. These precious unguents not only preserved but also imbued your form with a subtle, mystical fragrance, a perfume of immortality. Finally, the bandaging began. Thousands of yards of fine linen bandages, each strip a clean white promise of preservation, were meticulously wrapped around your body by the priests. Between these layers, protective amulets and charms were carefully placed, a scarab over your heart, a symbol of rebirth, and an eye of Horus to ward off evil, its gaze an eternal sentinel. Each fold of linen, each precise binding, was accompanied by a prayer or incantation, transforming the physical act into a profound spiritual journey. The process was slow, deliberate, and imbued with immense spiritual significance, a sacred transformation that prepared you, the mortal king, for your ascent to godhood in the afterlife. Your form, once subject to the frailties of life, now lay perfectly preserved, a timeless sculpture ready for eternity. The funeral procession was a spectacle to behold, a final magnificent display of your earthly power and the profound grief of your kingdom. From the grand gates of your palace, a vast throng assembled, stretching for miles, a river of humanity flowing towards the western bank. Priests in their ceremonial robes, noblemen in their finest attire, professional mourners whose wails, a mournful chorus orchestrated for effect, mingled with the genuine sobs of your loyal subjects. The air vibrated with the rhythmic beat of drums, a solemn heartbeat marking your passage, and the mournful wail of flutes, their notes long and lingering like a final sigh. Your beautifully adorned sarcophagus, heavy with gold and precious stones, was drawn on a ceremonial sledge, pulled by oxen or even by your most senior officials, a final act of profound humility and service.
The journey across the Nile, the sacred river of life and death, was a pivotal moment. Your mummy, now encased within multiple layers of elaborately painted coffins, was transported on a specially built funerary bark, its sails billowing like a white shroud against the blue sky. The gentle lapping of the water against the hull, a rhythmic lullaby from the ancient river, provided a serene contrast to the grand procession on land. The West Bank, the land of the setting sun, was the realm of the dead, where the sun god Ra began his nightly journey through the underworld. It was here, in the Valley of the Kings, a timeless necropolis carved into the silent cliffs, that your final resting place awaited. Your tomb, a marvel of engineering and artistry, was prepared over decades, a subterranean palace for your eternal slumber. Within its painted chambers, the walls depicted your life, your triumphs, and the gods you would soon join. And within its innermost sanctum, your multiple coffins, culminating in the golden inner coffin, would be placed inside a massive stone sarcophagus, a protective shell against the ravages of time and tomb robbers. Around you, the vast wealth of your earthly reign was meticulously arranged. Piles of gold jewelry, their brilliance undimmed by the darkness, intricately carved furniture, gleaming weapons, and even perfectly preserved food offerings for your journey. Rows of Ushapti figures, small, silent servants crafted from faience or wood, stood ready to answer the call of duty in the afterlife, ensuring your eternal comfort. These were not just possessions, they were your provisions for eternity, a celestial banquet laid out for a divine traveler. Each piece, from the smallest amulet to the grandest chariot, spoke of your earthly power, now transferred to the realm of the dead, ensuring your continuous dominion. Finally, the great stone doors of your tomb, massive, unyielding guardians of eternity, were sealed, their surfaces often inscribed with powerful curses to deter intruders. The air within grew still, a hushed silence broken only by the whispers of history. You, the Pharaoh, were now one with Osiris, the lord of the underworld, embarking on your eternal journey through the duat, guided by the celestial map painted on your tomb ceiling, a shimmering guide to the stars. Back in the sun-drenched halls of your palace, life continued. The transition was swift, yet steeped in ancient tradition. The heir, perhaps your eldest son or a designated successor, would take up the double crown, its weight now his to bear. The grand coronation ceremony, echoing your own, would usher in a new era, a new divine presence on the throne. Your name would be invoked in prayers, your deeds recounted in hymns, your image carved into the very stones of temples across Egypt. You had transitioned from a living god to an ancestral spirit, a revered forefather, a permanent star in the constellation of Egyptian royalty. Your story, behind the crown, concludes, revealing that even for the most powerful rulers, life's final truth is a return to dust and a place among the echoes of history. Weeks later, the young regent, your eldest son's son, still too young to wear the double crown, walked through the empty chambers. His small hand brushed against the cool stone wall of your private audience hall. The silence was deafening, a heavy shroud where once your voice, a thunderclap of authority, had resonated. He would never know the weight of the crown, the ceaseless anxieties, the solitary nights you endured. He would only see the monuments, hear the tales of your greatness. The cycle continued, an endless river of power and sacrifice flowing through time. The Egyptian night settles, a velvet cloak embroidered with 1,000,000 shimmering stars. Slumber beckons you. Let the soft whispers of the desert wind and the timeless murmur of the Nile's flowing waters gently carry you into a peaceful dream, a realm where all the heavy burdens of the crown have melted away into nothingness. Sleep well, Pharaoh. And now, as the timeless currents of ancient Egypt gently recede, I hope this story has softly guided you into a peaceful slumber, much like the Nile cradles its ancient secrets. Thank you for accompanying me on this journey of discovery into the hidden truths. If you cherish such adventures, please consider giving us a like to support our channel. Subscribe for more journeys through history, and do share where and when you're listening so we can feel truly connected. Sleep soundly, and may your dreams be as vast as the desert sky.